Please try to relax. There is plenty of time. I need to tell you something. Please listen and try not to panic. You've been waiting for this game for quite some time. Yes, I know. You would like to know how long. I'm afraid it's been 7 years.
V has come to.
Yup, believe it or not, development on Metal Gear Solid 5 began shortly after the release of MGS4 back in 2008, if you count the years it took to create the Fox engine alone. 7 years later, here we are in the year 2015. The highly anticipated game is finally out, and it is nothing short of a masterpiece. You can really tell that every one of those years has been put to good use to shape and perfect this incredibly ambitious title, from the superb technical elements only made possible through the powerful Fox engine to the creative elements only made possible by the mind of Hideo Kojima. They kept us waiting, huh? But the wait was worth it. Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain is a one-of-a-kind game that only comes once every generation. There is nothing like it, nor will there be for a very long time. Excellence seeps through every aspect, from its incredible presentation with beautiful graphics, striking cinematography, fantastic soundtrack, and great voice work that seamlessly come together to deliver some of the most mesmerizing moments in gaming period, to its unrivaled gameplay. Phantom Pain is not only the best Metal Gear game in the series, it is also by far the best stealth game ever made. This game is a true open-world sandbox in which players can actually choose their preferred method of execution for any given objective. There are many other games in the stealth genre that claim to do the same, but Phantom Pain puts them to shame. There are two contributing factors to this. One is the seamless, organic open world. While Phantom Pain may not feature the biggest or most dense open world, and while the open world is more of a network of roads that connects all of the different bases and outposts rather than a vast open landscape, everything was designed to bring open free stealth and infiltration to the forefront. Listen, if you are expecting a Grand Theft Auto-style open world with lush cities featuring countless distractions scattered about, you are missing the point. While you will find animals, plants, minerals, resources, and recruits to scavenge and collect for your mother base, a surprisingly fun and addictive gameplay element within itself, don't expect to make a quick stop to play some tennis, go to a strip club, or drive around crashing into pedestrians for fun. What you will get instead with Phantom Pain's two massive open worlds, Afghanistan and Africa, are a ton of variety when it comes to outposts and bases for you to infiltrate, offering multiple paths of infiltration, each which can allow for a variety of different strategies. Almost every outpost was designed to offer unique and different challenges. Inhabiting these bases and outposts are intelligent enemy soldiers that organically react to everything that's happening around them. They will behave differently depending on the time of day, the weather, and the player's actions, and they will even adapt to your playstyle. Do too many headshots and they will start wearing helmets. Perform too many missions at night and they will start using night vision goggles. Use sniper rifles too much and you may see enemies start wielding sniper rifles as well. Steal too many things and you may start seeing mines popping up around bases and outposts. I was also surprised by just how intelligent enemies were when it came to raising base-wide alert statuses. If they see or hear anything that is remotely suspicious, from dead bodies, gunshots, unidentified presence, balloons launching stuff in the air, to even missing people or objects, they will investigate the suspicious activity or call it in. Once called in, a base enters alert status, and once that happens, the enemy soldiers will work together to literally search every inch of that base before deciding to resume normal duties, which can take quite a while depending on the size of the base. If the worst comes to pass and you're detected, you will enter what's called Reflex mode, a small window of opportunity in which time slows down to give players a chance to neutralize the enemy before they alert the base of Snake's presence. There were many who were worried that Reflex mode would make the game far too easy, but trust me when I say that it does not. Because of the open world nature of the game and the unpredictable enemy patrol patterns, you really never know when and where you'll be detected. You might just be treading along a seemingly empty landscape only to find yourself randomly detected by a couple of random enemy soldiers that happen to be taking a stroll. Inside bases, you never know when an enemy soldier will make an unexpected turn and walk right into you. Reflex mode will be a necessity for most people, particularly those who are new to Metal Gear. It's also just a really cool feature that accurately represents Snake's reflexes as the legendary soldier that he is, and it's just visually satisfying to see your enemy getting nailed in the face by a projectile you fired in slow motion. Furthermore, that 5 seconds or so window can be some of the most intense moments you'll ever experience. Detection in Phantom Pain can happen when you least expect it, so you will often find yourself battling awkward angles, obstacles in your way, or even multiple enemies at once to pull off seemingly impossible shots in that small window. But when you do manage to pull off something crazy when you were sure you weren't gonna make it, you will feel an incredible sense of satisfaction and relief. Now, for the hardcore, the game does offer the option to turn Reflex mode off, which will make the game vastly more difficult. At the same time, removing this clutch does pave the way for some of the most intense and satisfying stealth experiences out there. It will be frustrating when your perfect stealth is squashed by one measly guard that seemingly came out of nowhere, but successfully completing a mission without Reflex mode does come with its unique sense of incredible satisfaction. You'll have fun with this game regardless of whether Reflex mode is turned on or not, with each offering their own thrills. The punishing detection system, along with the intelligent and dynamic AI, also paves the way for some of the most organically evolving missions and scenarios I have ever experienced. The kind of intense or epic moments that would otherwise be scripted in any other game happened to me organically on multiple occasions as the game's intricate systems beautifully came together. In Phantom Pain, you will truly feel as though your experience with the game is unique to you. You and I could sit down and talk about the game for hours on end, and I guarantee you that we would tell different tales, all equally exciting about the same missions. That's the true definition of an open, free, organic world. I know I'm using the word organic a lot, but there is truly no other way to describe Phantom Pain's gameplay. Everything just occurs, develops, and evolves organically. This is rare in the world of gaming, especially in this day and age, where game and level designers seem to be more focused on holding players' hands and constraining them to their design rather than allowing the design to empower players' creativity. Phantom Pain boldly aims for the latter and successfully achieves it. The second contributing factor to making Phantom Pain the best and most dynamic stealth game ever made is the sheer amount of gadgets, weapons, tools, and equipment that the game puts at the hands of the player. Where most other stealth games only provide a handful of tools for players to use in a small sandbox, as if afraid to let players unleash their intelligence and creativity, Phantom Pain welcomes such a notion and boldly hands the players an entire base of operations called Mother Base to command, allowing them to research and develop all kinds of weapons and items, which can either be equipped via the game's pre-mission loadout menu that can be accessed in Aerial Command Center, called Mission Sortie, or delivered to the field from Mother Base through some simple selections via the handheld iDroid device, and even allowing players to deploy powerful field support like armed helicopters and airstrikes. Now, don't expect this arsenal to be handed to you on a silver platter. You will have to work for them, as everything in this game has level and resource requirements, which can be met by recruiting enough soldiers to level up Mother Base units and by collecting resources like herbs and minerals, all of which can be done in the field. There are also other means to obtain these things, like the dispatch missions, a menu-based system in which you send your combat unit soldiers to virtual background missions that can yield rewards like herbs, minerals, recruits, GMP, and more if successful. It's basically an expanded version of Peace Walker's Outer Ops, and like in Outer Ops, probability of success will depend on the level of your combat unit compared to the strength of the enemy army for the selected dispatch mission. Through a combination of field scavenging and dispatch missions, you can gather resources and manpower to meet resource and level requirements for weapons and upgrades, and once they are met, you will need the appropriate amount of GMP, the game's currency, to begin research and development. Things from early stages of a tech tree will develop immediately, but once you get into the higher level tech, development may take anywhere from a dozen or so minutes to an hour of real time spent in the game, with higher level tech taking longer. This may initially seem like a cheap way to extend the game's lifespan, but I found that I spent so much time in the field as it is, both in and out of missions, that it didn't make much of a difference. I actually came to think that it made sense to implement such a system, as it gave importance to choosing and developing the right equipment that adheres to your playstyle ahead of time. This system also made unlocking Phantom Pain's vast arsenal a gradual process, allowing players to spend quality time with each new tech. Even after you complete the main campaign, you won't have unlocked or upgraded all of the game's weapons, items, and tools. Because of the gradual pacing on your first playthrough, you will most likely be using relatively primitive equipment. You will still get tons of new upgrades and things, and you will feel a constant sense of progression because there is just so much stuff to unlock in Phantom Pain, but most of you won't unlock the coolest weapons and gadgets until you reach the end of the main campaign and maybe even much after. There is actually a genius to this gradual pacing. Starting out, you may feel somewhat restrained and limited in options due to the fact that your arsenal is still in its infancy, but by the time you finish the game and beyond, all of a sudden, you will have at your disposal cool new weapons, items, and tools, along with a myriad of awesome new support buddies that you didn't have earlier in the game, all of which pave the way for some incredible new strategies and tactical advantages. From there, you will look back to some of the previous missions and be like, holy shit, I can do this mission this way now, and I can do that mission that way. And that one thing that used to be hard can be done much quicker and more efficiently with this, and that other thing can be tackled in a completely new way with that. A flood of new doors will begin to unlock, and you will start seeing new angles to every mission you've played thus far. So there's this urge to replay every mission, to find new creative things to do. As if that wasn't enough, replayability is further encouraged by a checklist of side objectives found with each main mission. The game smartly hides these side objectives on missions first try to encourage players to simply enjoy them for what they are without having to worry about extraneous factors. It's not until the mission is completed once that the game unveils all of the side objectives attached to them, daring players to try again under new conditions. Some of them you may be able to do right away, but others you may have a lot of difficulty with until you progress further into the game and unlock new and more advanced tech. But by the time you finish the game and beyond, you may have all the weapons, items, gadgets, equipment, and tools that you need, which will encourage you to go back to a side objective that you used to have difficulty with. It's this incredible cycle only made possible by a combination of how freely missions can be tackled, the game's vast arsenal, and the gradual pace at which new tech and upgrades unlock. I would say that it's basically kind of like a seamless, integrated New Game Plus. Once you have some high-level weapons and tech, it'll feel as though the game and all of the past missions have morphed and evolved. All of this doesn't even take the game's incredible weapon customization system into consideration. As if the game's vast arsenal wasn't enough, you have the option to make your own custom additions to it. At one point, the game will allow players to customize a base weapon with parts from other weapons. In my case, I had eventually unlocked a tranquilizer sniper rifle, but I still had quite a bit to go to unlock a suppressor for it. So I went into the weapons customization system, took the suppressor from my MRS-4 rifle, attached it onto my tranquilizer sniper rifle, and voila! There was my own custom-made suppressed tranquilizer sniper rifle. That's just one of virtually infinite examples. So you take this weapons customization system, combine that with a vast and unique arsenal of weapons, items, and tools to take advantage of, and you mix all that with a stealth-centered, seamless, organically evolving open world, and you have one of the most flexible and replayable games ever made. Now, you would think that all of these complex and dynamic systems would crush this game under its own weight, but fortunately, Phantom Pain features some of the most intuitive controls I've had the pleasure of playing that puts everything in order, flawlessly bridging the player with the game and its systems. Previous entries in the Metal Gear series featured controls that were far too clumsy, often requiring mind-boggling simultaneous button presses to perform the simplest of maneuvers. Wrapping one's head around these controls could be a daunting task, paving the way for some frustrating, unintentional mistakes that would often lead to detection. Not so with Phantom Pain. The controls have been simplified and made far more intuitive without compromising the ability to do complex techniques and maneuvers. Everything just worked, and I always felt in control. In Phantom Pain, if you're detected, it was most likely your fault 99% of the time. There were a couple of occasions where I felt as though I should have been able to run up this hill or climb up that obstacle, but for the most part, Snake felt stealthy, nimble, agile, and like a total badass. Another welcome change from previous games is Phantom Pain's marking system. Previous Metal Gear games would pretty much hand you enemy locations on a silver platter unless you played some of the higher difficulties. In Phantom Pain, the game makes you work for that intel. By using the binoculars, players can mark enemy targets in their line of sight, allowing them to see their movements and location both in-game and on the map. Like Reflex mode, the marking system is a crucial element to Phantom Pain due to the game's open world nature and the unpredictable enemy AI, and it doesn't make the game easier. Keep in mind that it's entirely possible to miss marking an enemy or two, which can result in unexpected detections. Furthermore, as I mentioned before, the game makes the player work to acquire this intel. You feel as though this intel was well-deserved, as you went out of your way to get it. Finally, the marking system vastly enhances overall gameplay. Knowing enemy locations that you marked allows you to use the vast arsenal of unique weapons and tools that the game offers to devise some really creative strategies that wouldn't be possible without the marking system. Trust me when I say that the marking system is a vital piece to making Phantom Pain's stealth gameplay so freaking great. It's so crucial, in fact, that it cannot be turned off, at least as far as I know. One last thing that Phantom Pain fixes from past games are interface designs that would completely halt the flow of the game. So things like a weapon or item selection menu that would freeze the game, or menu-based systems like the ones found in Snake Eater that required players to completely pause the game to do things like changing equipment or healing wounds. Phantom Pain solves this problem with the iDroid, a device that seamlessly bridges Mother Base and the battlefield. The iDroid is basically an all-in-one device that allows players to manage Mother Base, look at your location's map, place markers, ask for any field support, manage missions, and more. What's cool about the iDroid is that bringing it up and putting it down is almost instantaneous, and doing so doesn't pause the game. As a result, Phantom Pain's menus and interface feel incredibly snappy. You truly get the sense that the game's menus aren't separate components, but rather a feature that was seamlessly integrated into the game and its systems. Admittedly, the iDroid can be initially daunting because of just how much has been crammed into it, but once you get used to it, it's actually fairly intuitive to navigate through. Now, all of the game systems would be meaningless without giving players goals to strive for, and the game provides missions aplenty. 50 main missions and over 150 side ops to be exact. On your first playthrough, main missions can take anywhere from 15 minutes to over an hour depending on how careful and meticulous you are or how much you explore. As for the smaller scale side ops, those usually don't take more than a dozen or 2 minutes, but you will find that many of them are equally important in the development of both the story and your Mother Base's progression, so they definitely should not be ignored. Both main missions and side ops do a fantastic job of establishing scenarios that put all of Phantom Pain's organic and dynamic systems and vast arsenal to the test. Most missions will encourage stealth, but every once in a while you will encounter missions that are grand in scale and encourage a more explosive approach. But even missions that encourage one playstyle can be tackled using the complete opposite way, and therein lies the beauty of Phantom Pain. The number of ways you can tackle one mission as a result of all of its dynamic systems and the vast arsenal of weapons, items, and tools is truly mind-boggling. Further motivating players to tackle mission after mission is a story that will hook you and reel you in from start to finish. While the emphasis on gameplay does mean that you will be seeing far less cutscenes and that the story development will be much slower paced than past games in the series, it all eventually builds up to a climax that paves the way to some of the coolest, most epic, and at times most devastating moments I've ever had the pleasure of playing through. While I don't believe that Phantom Pain features the best or most touching story in the series, with that crown still belonging to Snake Eater, it does feature the best presentation, some of the coolest cutscenes I've ever seen, some of the best gameplay scenarios ever, and the story is still incredibly compelling, presenting complex themes, thoughts, and ideas that could only come from a mind like Hideo Kojima's. The story is more than enough to keep you hooked throughout the entirety of Phantom Pain's 40 to 50 hour main campaign. I do have to complain about some of the writing though. The game's themes of race and revenge are far too heavy-handed. You'll be hearing words like revenge, lust for revenge, thirst for revenge, and whatnot shoved into dialogue in an unnatural manner far too often. Rather than allowing the game's scenarios to speak for themselves, the game script barrages the player with themes by having characters constantly saying words associated with them. It's a classic case of show, don't tell. I also do have to point out that the game's ending will be a big topic of contention. I won't spoil it, but suffice to say that the game's final true ending will reveal certain truths that will leave fans somewhere between, "Oh, I get it, I see what you're trying to do here, Kojima," and "This is fucking bullshit." Some fans will love it, others will hate it, and others will have mixed feelings. I, for one, am split. On the one hand, I love how Kojima speaks to his fans directly, sending a touching message and salute to us through the game. But on the other hand, it's just not what we asked for. That's as far as I'll go. You'll see what I mean once you get there. Now, something that I found absolutely unacceptable about the game is that it leaves a storyline incomplete. There is one particular storyline that develops and eventually reaches a climax, only to never be heard of again. It turns out that this mission concluding the storyline has been cut from the game and reduced to footage featuring incomplete cutscenes, concept arts, and text descriptions that paint a clear picture of what this mission could have been. I don't know if there simply wasn't enough time to complete the mission, if it had something to do with budget, or if the Kojima Konami debacle had a hand in this somehow, but the exclusion of this mission is devastating. It ties so many loose ends together, and the gameplay scenario looks so incredible that it truly boggles the mind that cutting this mission was even considered. Without this mission, I truly feel as though Phantom Pain is ever so slightly an incomplete package. Don't get me wrong, this game offers plenty of content and is more than worth its $60 value, but it leaves out a key piece of the puzzle. This is made worse by the fact that only those who purchase the collector's edition or pre-ordered the game on Steam can get access to this video. I mean, sure, it'll be uploaded on YouTube eventually, but still, such a pivotal piece to the story should be accessible to everyone who purchased the game. This doesn't ruin the game or anything, but knowing this, I cannot award this game a perfect score. On the topic of complaints, I might as well talk about my second biggest problem with the game, the helicopter rides to and from missions. While it's definitely really cool and immersive to be able to physically fly to or from a location, these sequences do eventually become tiresome, as each trip takes around 30 seconds or so. Furthermore, the fact that there is no way to seamlessly ride your chopper from one location to another within the same region doesn't help matters. Anytime players board the chopper from the field, they are forced back to Air Command Center before choosing another location. It's strange because seamless chopper transportation is enabled within Mother Base. You can get on your chopper, choose a location, and Pequod will seamlessly take you there, but this wasn't implemented in the field. While this again doesn't ruin the game, it's an annoyance that became more and more apparent the more I played. Speaking of locations, I was slightly disappointed to find that Africa and Afghanistan are the only two main open world maps. While they both feature enough content, they did eventually grow visually stale. What were once some really cool and amazing vistas became a case of been there, done that, especially since both locations had been shown extensively prior to the game's release. One more location could have made all the difference. Finally, for my last complaint, I have to talk about FOB. This is Phantom Pain's online multiplayer mode, in which players develop a base separate from their main mother base called forward operating bases for other players to attempt to infiltrate. In the same manner that other players can attempt to infiltrate your base, you can attempt to infiltrate other players' bases. There is nothing wrong with the game mode itself, mind you. In fact, it's pretty freaking excellent and unique. With a human component added to both the infiltrating and the defending side, this game mode paves the way for some truly intense and satisfying stealth gameplay. On the attacking side, the player gets to choose which unit platform to attack and are tasked with stealthily reaching the platform's core. Successfully doing so yields some great rewards like resources and high-level recruits, but it's no easy task with a human player and a myriad of intelligent enemy soldiers defending the base. While it is actually possible to reach the platform's core before the human player decides to intervene, I was surprised to find that the AI and the various security measures posed quite a bit of a challenge on many occasions. On the defending side, the player will be warned when their FOB is in the process of being invaded, at which point the defending player can choose to intervene via the iDroid. If the defending player happens to be in the middle of a mission, they will have to choose between one of three options: halting all progress and possibly restarting certain aspects of the mission to immediately defend their FOB, completing the mission and hope that the attacking player didn't do too much damage by the time the defending player decides to respond, or entrusting the fate of that FOB session to the soldier's AI and security devices. Should the defending player choose to respond, they will immediately be transported in front of the base core, and from there it's like finding a needle in a haystack, paving the way for an experience that's as intense as the attacking side. It's a fairly well-balanced game mode with thrills and rewards to be found. My problem with this game mode, however, is the servers. Even a week after the game's launch, servers are incredibly unstable. Half the time the servers are down, and the other half of the time, I'd be lucky if the servers didn't disconnect me from an FOB session in the middle of a match, which results in a loss for the attacking player, subtracting GMP as well as heroism points. There were also numerous times when server errors would occur as I tried to respond to an enemy FOB attack, leaving me unable to defend my own base and essentially giving my enemy free spoils on a silver platter. When the servers are up and running and in full throttle, FOB is absolutely fantastic, but at this stage, the game mode is nearly unplayable due to the risks and consequences that come with server shutdowns or errors in the middle of FOB sessions. I'm sure this is something that will be fixed in the near future, but there is only so much waiting I can do before reviewing the game. All complaints aside, Phantom Pain is a game that anyone who considers themselves a gamer should play, Metal Gear veteran or not. Its presentation is unparalleled, its controls and mechanics are sublime, it provides an incredible value with an extensive main campaign that features what I like to call seamless New Game Plus, and its myriad of complex, dynamic, and organic systems pave the way for a true open-world sandbox game that respects and expects intelligence and creativity from the player. Many other games have claimed to do the same, but Phantom Pain is one of very few that actually achieves it. The omission of Mission 51 and the server issues in FOB prevent this game from reaching the perfect 10 that I initially planned to give it, but despite all this, Phantom Pain is nothing short of a masterpiece. And the best part is that it's not over yet. We have Metal Gear Online 3 to look forward to in October. So bottom line, do yourself a huge favor and get this game. It's Hideo Kojima's swan song and magnum opus, a glorious send-off to what is most likely his last Metal Gear game. And simply put, it's one of the best games ever made. Metal Gear Solid 5 The Phantom Pain is a diamond in the rough that took 7 long years to polish, but it's finally here, and you will be awestruck by just how brightly it shines.